And welcome back. Pre-record on Thursday for Friday. We have from Parker Smith, the only one I found who actually gave me this, which was weird. I thought Mask versus Beetlejuice was a more popular requested video. Maybe it is too. Maybe I didn't see all the other suggestions, but yeah, that was weird. But Beetlejuice versus the Mask. This is basically the power of Toon Force versus a guy who can kind of just do anything he wants within his own world. The Mask, obviously, when it's on someone, has literally the power to just do anything. We can ignore being injured. He can literally just summon things out of thin air. He's effectively immortal. He can travel at the speed. He can pretty much teleport instantly if he wants to. He can do literally anything he wants, so long as he deems it funny. But there's ways to get around that as well. If you can force the user to take off the mask, then the mask is, done. The mask is not immune to emotions. The mask itself, in theory, is indestructible. Although when we did the death battle, winners tournament, he went up against Beerus, and I basically said yeah, the mask isn't beating Beerus because Beerus negates the abilities of gag characters, aka Toon Force kind of characters. So the mask, a character can be so strong that his abilities would not apply to him. But the question is Beetlejuice like that? Well, Beetlejuice or Beetlegeist, as he's actually known as, his actual name is Beetlegeist, it's not Beetlejuice. But we don't actually know much about him except, and I always want to bring up the quote because it's just a great quote and I can never remember it. even though I have a mind for movie quotes, this one always just escapes me because it's a monologue really. Beetlejuice, hold on. Beetlejuice. Oh, I didn't know how to say it a third time. Let's see here. Beetlejuice. Character. Beetlejuice. I'm not saying it 3 times in a row. You'll notice. Where is that line? Where is that? I got Beetlejuice profile. Let me check profile real quick. Because I always like using that. Anytime I use Beetlejuice. Beetlegeist, whatever. Anytime I use Beetlejuice, I do Beetlejuice. I gotta do the quote. I gotta do it. Let's see here. Where is it now? Development name, powers. Okay, so let's just get his powers out of the way real quick here. Powers include reality warping, invulnerability, levitation and flight, regeneration, shapeshifting, teleportation. Him and others can conjure and summon objects possession, can make people's voices, ventriloquism, and telekinesis. Essentially, within his own world, he is a kind of god. He is kind of hacked in terms of what he's actually capable of doing. Let's see here. In terms of his actual history. So he attended Juilliard as a graduate of Harvard Business School, traveled quite extensively, lived through the Black Plague, and had a pretty good time during that, and has seen The Exorcist 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it, not to mention the fact you're talking to a dead guy. So what do you think? You think I'm qualified? God, man, I love Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton can do no wrong. Michael Keaton is a national goddamn treasure, and I'll hear nothing against that. But in terms of his actual backstory, whether or not that's true or not, it is known for certain. What is known for certain per Juno's warning of Matilda is that Beetlegeist was once Juno's assistant, which implies he committed suicide since he was working for her counts as being a civil servant. The explanation of his suicide by hanging was left out of the film, but he was a troublemaker. He went out of his own as a freelance bioexorcist, claims he could get rid of the living. He got into more trouble. Also, ironically, he is a living buster, a ghost who exterminates the living by scaring them away. Either way, though, Beetlejuice is kind of a hacked individual in many ways, but Beetlejuice is also not invulnerable. Believe it or not, his power, he can actually be pretty easily taken down. If he's in the real world, all you gotta do is say his name 3 times, and you can, because you say his name 3 times to summon him, you say his name 3 times to get rid of him. But his powers are in fact tied to his impression of himself. If he loses confidence in himself, If he loses faith in his abilities, all kinds of stuff, his powers wane. They're also susceptible to his emotions in the same way that if fear works. He's afraid of sandworms, and his powers don't work when he's afraid like that. He can also get undead colds, and that makes him sick and can make him feel bad too. That's why he calls himself the ghost with the most, because he is, it's to basically hype himself up. So the question is, when you have the ability to reality warp, be invulnerable, levitate, fly, regenerate, shapeshift, teleportation, conjure and summon, possession, mimic people's voices, ventriloquism, and telekinesis, is Toon Force something that can take this guy down? And conversely, when you have all that level of power, by the way, I kind of like the image I use for Beetlejuice. Makes him look a lot more menacing than I normally use for the images. Conversely, is Beetlejuice power enough to take someone who's got the level of Toon Force that the Mask does down? So I think this would be a lot like that fight between the Mask and Lobo, where they're just trading back and forth for a while. Neither of them are getting a headway on each other. They're both cracking wise. Sorry, old chum. It looks like you're up the creek without a paddle. Oh, I got one. Boom! just smacks him in the face. Cute green boy. That's really cute, green boy, but tell me, you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? And then all of a sudden, he just brings the moon down. It's like, look, that pale moon's getting brighter, but then just brings the moon down somehow. And neither of them are getting any headway on the other. It's going to come down to one of two things for either of these guys. Or basically, the way that Mask is going to beat Beetlejuice versus the way that Beetlejuice will have to be the Mask. Because I frankly, despite the level of strength he has, or despite the level of abilities he has, I don't think Beetlejuice is someone whose powers outright override the Mask's ability to exist. Again, using Beerus as an example, Beerus literally had the power to destroy a universe if he wanted to, no problem. And his power was just on the level that a gag character couldn't work. And the Mask will qualify under that parameter as a Toon Force gag character. Beetlejuice, while he's got reality warping power, I don't think he has that level of power. We've never really seen him we've never seen him have that level of power where he's literally could destroy the universe. We've never seen that. In theory, he could warp the Mask off of Ipkiss, but the Mask will not be removed by someone other than the user. And I'm just using Ipkiss as the example of someone to be wearing it. He was the main guy who wore it. So I'm going to say it wouldn't work. So really what Beetlejuice is going to have to do to beat the Mask is get the Mask to take off the mask. Versus what the Mask has got to do is basically put the fear of God, more or less, into Beetlejuice to wane his abilities down. So who's going to be able to do that more effectively to the other? Because in theory, both these guys have that capability as to do that more or less. Beetlejuice would have to shapeshift and basically trick Ipkiss into taking off the Mask. That's what he's going to have to do. And that's a long haul that's a long shot kind of tactic. Because even though Beetlejuice certainly has the ability to do that, I don't know if the Mask would fall for that. He'd have to shift into someone that the Mask would ultimately trust enough to take off the Mask. And he'd still have to then trick the Mask into thinking that he won already. So the strategy I would see on Beetlejuice's side is fake being dead, fake defeat, turn into someone else, and convince Ipkiss to take off the Mask, and then Beetlejuice comes in and wrecks shop with him. Conversely, the Mask would have to basically figure out the phobia of Beetlejuice to be that he's afraid of sandworms, and I actually imagine that is, believe it or not, an easier... Because Beetlejuice is not someone who I think would just, has the tactical knowledge to fake being defeated. He's like, I'm dead. Okay. Trickster. He's a trickster, mind you. He is a trickster, but so is the Mask. So that can kind of counter each other out. But I don't think he has the tactical knowledge to basically to figure out he needs to take the Mask off. As far as he knows, this guy is just who he is. If he sees Ipkiss put the Mask on, it's a different story. But as it is, in this scenario, I don't think they would see each other. He wouldn't see him put the Mask on. Because they'd be trash-talking for so long, and, I could see a scenario where the fear of sandworms on Beetlejuice's part comes up. and therefore the mask just turns into a sandworm and just scares living hell out of him. Battery's getting low, but I'm okay. So yeah, I can see a scenario play out like that where that is the case. So, but I can see the scenario on Beetlejuice's side too. So what's the more likely option? Scaring Beetlejuice or convincing Ipkiss? Well, like I said, while Beetlejuice is certainly a trickster, unless he knows that the mask itself is like separate and needs to be taken off, I don't see the strategy of him convincing Ipkiss to take it off through feigning defeat and transforming into somebody he trusts, because then he has to figure out who Ipkiss trusts to do that. Because that's another thing. He doesn't have telepathy. He's got telekinesis. He can't read minds. That's something he can't do. Now, granted, with reality warping, maybe you could figure something out like that. But if he can't read minds, then there's no way for him to figure that out. So I actually think the mask has got the better shot here, because both these guys are impossible to put down by a normal means. But there's also the other catch too. If he learns Beetlejuice's name and just starts saying it, Beetlejuice would stop him afterwards. Like, oh, what's the matter? I don't like hearing your own name. No, you can't say your name. And then Beetlejuice realizes, like, crap, I just gave that away. And this guy's strong enough to keep me at bay long enough to say my name 3 times. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. By the way, I'm going with the death battle version of the voice, not like smoking. Oh, how do now? Do a bit more Jim Carrey. So I would go with the mask, because Beetlejuice also has that fatal flaw of having his name said 3 times. So my money goes on the mask. He's pretty much just as durable as Beetlejuice is, can do pretty much the same things, but he has less follies to be exploited. And that's, I think, the real key thing here, is that the weaknesses, however many or few there are more in Mask's court to take advantage of than Beetlejuice is. So unfortunately for you, Beetle, I love you, Big B, but yeah, I gotta go with the mask on this one. But that's just my opinion. What do you think in the comments below? Let me know. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. I'll see you folks for the next one. What If will be up on Saturday. As always, until then, later.